US. And Tayor says this could work for Procore too.
They might have built a supply chain expecting a certain gym kind of demand.
But people aren't exactly crowding into gyms these days. What is crowded? The space Peloton wants to dominate. Echelon Fitness makes cheaper interconnected bikes. Apple just launched a competing fitness platform. And now lots of gyms and studios offer streaming classes. Americus Reed, a marketing professor at the Wharton School, says Peloton has to think around the next corner.
The way to stay out of front of this is to make sure you're in a position to deliver kind of the next add-on aspect to this.
So the bike screen now swivels. You can hop off and take a yoga class. And with this acquisition, Peloton wants to make sure customers are getting everything they want as soon as they want it. I'm Erica Barris for Marketplace.
There is more PPP money in the relief bill that Congress passed yesterday. Should answer at least one of the questions small business owners are asking themselves. How many of my employees can I keep employed? But there are a whole bunch of other questions they are asking themselves too, those small business owners. Can I do business safely? How long can I stay in business? And for some of them, am I even in the right business? Marketplace's Justin Ho has this story of a small business owner in South Carolina who changed up his company and wound up thriving.
When the pandemic started, Sherard Duvall realized that his video production company, OTR Media Group, was going to have a hard time producing short films and feature-length documentaries.
You know, we got associate producers, we got camera guys, we got audio guys, we got lighting guys, script guys, you know. It's very hard to do that distance.
All of the work the company did fell off a cliff.
You know, in June, I was sweating bullets.
Duvall tried to keep his business alive. He applied for a Paycheck Protection Program loan in March, but like a lot of minority business owners, he kept hitting dead ends. When I talked to him in June, Duvall said he had submitted 7 applications without any luck.
It's been a 3-month slog and struggle, and it's frustrating is probably the best word to describe it. Upsetting, really.
So Duvall turned to nonprofit groups for advice, and the answer he kept getting was to pivot.
They were always saying pivot, pivot, pivot. And I was like, you know, what? You know, to be honest with you, Justin, it was pissing me off at one point.
Because he had no idea what the company was supposed to pivot to.
When you're talking about someone like us, who's a service-based business that has a specific model, particularly based around media, you're already doing all the things that you're good at.
But then the light bulb went off, and he realized the pandemic had created demand for video work the company hadn't been doing. Building and installing live streaming equipment.
You know, we did end up pivoting, and that pivot really saved us.
OTR Media landed gigs with a church and a synagogue. It started helping teachers set up home studios and producing videos for universities to use in online lectures.
It saved our business. There's no doubt about it. You know, I was joking with my accountant, and I was like, had it not been for that, I really don't know what I would do.
Business had already started to improve by the time Duvall finally got a PPP loan in July. He says he spent it within days, paying staff and settling utility bills that were long overdue.
Which freed up our ability to go, okay, now that we're making more money, now that some of that debt is gone, let's look at recalibrating selling and advertising. Let's look into doing the website.
Duvall says all of the company's business has started to bounce back. The company's more robust now, but getting there was not pleasant.
When you're not sure how you're going to pay anybody and you're 3 months behind on bills, you know, I don't see how you see that as a positive at all, you know.
Even though Washington has authorized more Paycheck Protection Program money, Duvall says he probably won't apply. He doesn't feel like going through that process all over again. I'm Justin Ho for Marketplace.
2020, unprecedented in so very many ways, also set hurricane records. It was only the second time that Greek alphabet letters were used to name storms, because we used up the Roman alphabet. Another new thing in this hurricane season, what is said to be the first insurance payout for damage to a natural resource, a coral reef down in Mexico hit by Hurricane Delta. It's a new kind of policy meant to help mitigate an ever-growing problem. Kathy Boffman-McLeod helped develop it. She is at the Atlantic Council. Kathy, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Tell me, would you, where this idea for insuring the coral reefs, where that came from?
I have been working in conservation and in risk management. And we began to think, okay, you need a product. You need to show the value of how nature protects people and economies. And so started thinking about what would we insure? And can we insure nature itself? Who owns it and how do you do it?
Yeah. So there's a coral reef off Quintana Roo down in Mexico near Cancun, which was the subject of the story in the Times that I read, and obviously the insurance policies that you all came up with. Mm-hmm. Does the municipality of Cancun or the state of Quintana Roo just call Lloyd's of London and say, hey, I want to insure my coral reef? How does it work?
No, and I should say it's more fun than that, than all of the...
Oh, gosh, insurance more fun than that? How surprising.
Yes, people, their eyes roll back, and you lose people in a second when you say insurance. And so it's super exciting. It really is. And, with $32 trillion in assets under management, the insurance industry, they change markets. And they are invested in reducing the risks that they face, financially, but also, both financial and physical risk. But the key thing is that we were trying to insure something that no one owns. Mm-hmm. And so how do you build the conversation so that you focus on the beneficiaries?
So this coral reef gets damaged. The insurance policy covers the damage to the reef because the insurance company didn't want to pay for the damage to the beach that would have resulted if the coral reef hadn't been there. Is that sort of nuts and bolts?
Yeah, yes, mostly. So The coral reef and the beach go together. A healthy reef is acting as a natural seawall. When you think about the tourism industry, so that in Quintana Roo, that tourism industry is $10 billion a year. And the hotels and the restaurants and things on the beach are being protected by that reef. And so the money pays to keep the reef in health so it can continue to provide that ecosystem service to protect the economy on the shore.
So if I'm an insurance company and I know that the climate is changing and that coral reefs are in danger or sequoias in California are at wildfire risk or take your pick of natural catastrophe, all of which we have seen multiplying in the past number of years as climate change gets more serious. If I'm an insurance company, why do I want to get near one of these things? Because it's almost guaranteed to be a lose-lose deal at some point.
Well, the insurance contracts are a year at a time. And so the insurance industry has a chance to assess every year, where do they want to place their risk around the world? That's one. And two, they're also increasingly understanding how powerful these natural systems are to reduce the risks. And so you'll see companies, brokers, primary insurers, and reinsurers involved in better understanding how to create these kinds of products. But you're right. All of this is about climate adaptation. But until we get our act together on emissions, we have to be doing these types of approaches.
This is your line of work. Are you getting traction with this argument?
Absolutely. One of the biggest brokerage firms in the world, Willis Towers Watson, launched a global ecosystem resilience facility, the GIRF, unfortunately. Unfortunate acronym, but a cool thing. And so you see the business getting into it pretty clearly. And so we'll keep going while we get our act together on mitigation.
Kathy Boffman-McLeod, she is the director of the Adrienne Arsht Rockefeller Foundation Resilience Center at the Atlantic Council. Kathy, thanks a lot. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Kai.
This final note on the way out today, in which what you might have thought would happen didn't. Saw this in the Wall Street Journal today. Remember back at the beginning of this thing, there were all those stories about how Corona beer was basically done for? I mean, who's going to drink a beer that shares a name with a deadly virus, right? Turns out about as many people who were drinking it before. A Chicago-based market research firm called IRI says in-store sales of Corona beer, and I am using the word beer here loosely in conjunction with Corona, but maybe that's just me. Anyway, In-store sales of Corona this year, basically the same as last year.
Marketplace is supported by Progressive Insurance, comparing car insurance rates from multiple insurers so shoppers can evaluate options in one place. Now that's Progressive. Comparisons available at progressive.com or 1-800-PROGRESSIVE. And by Hims, offering men access to licensed medical professionals online who can evaluate conditions including hair loss. Online prescriptions available if appropriate. More at forhims.com. And by Drexel University. Drexel University's academic model prepares visionary leaders to address the challenges of a changing world. Drexel.edu/ambition can't wait.
All right, we got to go, but here's your Tuesday moment of economic context. A hiccup, perhaps, in the heretofore hot housing market in which prices are high and supply of homes for sale is low, very low. The National Association of Realtors said this morning that sales of existing homes fell in November for the first time in 6 months. Here's a little tidbit on that supply-demand thing, by the way. The supply of homes on the market at the end of November was the lowest it's been on records going back to 1982. So low. Our digital and on-demand team includes Carrie Barber, Ben Heathcote, Eliza Mills, and Jenna Wynn. Star Neves is our executive director of On Demand. I'm Kai Risdal. We will see you tomorrow, everybody. This is 8 p.m.